More than 40 Canadians have been detained by Egyptian authorities after attempting to join the global march to Gaza, an international mobilization aiming to reach the Rafah border crossing and deliver aid. The Canadians, part of a larger group of foreign activists, were intercepted in cities like Cairo and Al Arish. Egyptian authorities have not provided formal charges, but the government has historically restricted movement near the Gaza border. Organizers say that over 200 individuals from various countries were detained in what they're calling a broad crackdown on international involvement. Our correspondent Wyatt Sharpe joined us with more.
A diplomatic storm is really brewing after Egyptian authorities detained dozens of foreign nationals, including approximately 40 Canadians who were following their participation in the march to Gaza, the global march to Gaza. Canadians were there, and really they were making an effort to go near the Rafah border crossing to try and convince the authorities there to allow things like humanitarian aid to pass. The protest rather is organized by Palestinian activists. Certainly, you've seen pro-Palestinian protests becoming an increasingly broader trend, even here in North America, with a number of protests really protesting what the Israeli government is doing. They're really aimed at kind of spotlighting, if you will, the developing humanitarian crisis that is taking place in Gaza and within that region, and the push for kind of unrestricted access to ultimately allow some of that humanitarian aid in. Among some of the detained, of course, as I mentioned, about 40 of them are Canadians, are, doctors and students, and of course, journalists as well, and a number of humanitarian organizers who, as I mentioned, were really pushing to try and get some of that humanitarian aid in. And of course, a lot of people coming at this from the perspective of the people who were looking to cross the Rafah border crossing have human rights. A lot of human rights organizations are, condemning this as arbitrary in nature and really trying to make that point. But also people pointing out that, if you're going to go near the Rafah border crossing, a place that is not really deemed and known for being safe, then you're going to find out eventually that there are some security concerns for your own personal safety with doing that. And so certainly that seems to be what has occurred here.